or the seed of life. And you see in my picture, here's the flower of life. Here's the seven circles, okay, the six circles, and then the one in the middle is the seventh. And the 0 point is the black dot in all the different pictures, all right? So that's 0 point. And so the seven spheres created, or the seed of life. A torus, they were saying, is the same as the DNA, is resulted after being spun around a central point. All right, so the central point, and again, here is the toroidal field, right? It looks like an apple. You have the two fields and then the core in the middle. So there's two different toroidal fields, and the reason why I put these here is because I kept getting the 4 parts. So I wanted to put the two parts, or the two toroidal fields together, right? When two affinity event horizons come together. So two toroidal fields, right? Okay, so the toroidal fields have 2 parts, but we're talking about the 2 different fields, 1, 2. And this is them together. You can see them by the color. And you notice that when they come together, they look like Easter eggs opening up to the flower of the 4 parts. Okay, and then the empty space around the flower, the pink, the dark pink, and the dark blue, or the cobalt and the magenta, is actually the Celtic cross. All right, so this is actually where the Celtic cross comes from the toroidal field into coming together with another toroidal field at 0 point. So it's hard to understand seeing them come together because they look solid figures, but you know, it's energy, they're not solid mass, right? So you can look at a toroidal field online to understand that better. But this message was coming up, all stemming from the flower of life, right? Here's the 0 points, the 7 spheres, which are considered DNA, the seed of life, is resulted after being spun around a central point. This is the only shape that can fold in upon itself, and we're talking about the torus, and composed of 7 equal segments displaying using 7 colors of visible light spectrum. So the example they had given was a torus like this, but they had in diagonal, you know, all 7 colors of the rainbow, showing the transparency of the toroidal field and the rotation of it at the same time, just like the orbits around, you know, the planets orbiting around the sun. It's the same kind of energy. So, and again, this is just very much like a donut shape, right? Because it's got a hole down the middle. It's like an hourglass shape there, and the 0 point would be in the middle right there. So here we have the 2 middle points coming together with 2, the pink one and the blue one, and that the empty spaces around the flower, or the flower is the crossover point, is the Celtic cross. So that was very cool that that came out there. So I was also then getting this, the flower in the flower of life is actually 2 shutters. And these are also very representative of like the energy around the third eye. Of course, they're more wavy than that, but the Reiki energy, when you do Reiki around the third eye, is like, you know, little, you know, like energy waves, not one smooth wave, but multiple vibrations and frequencies. So this is representative of that Reiki energy around the third eye, but it's also representative of a shutter around the pupil or the iris. So this is all from the flower. When you put these 2 together, it equals the flower. And if you put a circle around it, it then becomes the eye, or the shutter lens of a camera. It's the same thing as an eye. And you need to have both eyes to make the flower. Okay, so it's always reflecting upon itself. So again, these 2 together is the flower in the middle, the 2 eyes that come together. So, it just a lot of, you know, went into a lot of basics about the different shapes and the tetrahedrons and the egg and all that kind of stuff, which I didn't want to get into. I just wanted to get into the downloads that I was getting. So we go back to what Magenta was talking about. The two 0 points crossing over. So we have the, you know, the toroidal fields crossing over at 0 point, and literally, you know, it's an infinity. This is the number 8. You know, 2 balls on its side is the infinity. So now how does the 4 or the square come together, and the tetragrammaton, and the foundation of something real in space? Well, obviously the toroidal field is something real in space, and is the foundation, it's the DNA, right, of the flower of life. Okay, so that's part of it. And then the square was coming up as the sacred square. So of course, when you think of a sacred square, you think of a square where people can come together and speak their point of view. And I'm sure there's other definitions of it, but when I heard sacred square, I was getting the diamond. All right, so here's the square, and all the square is a diamond turned an eighth of a way. You notice it's the number 8 as well, the infinity. And so I drew the diagonal line here so you could see that, you know, all squares or diamonds are 2 pyramids coming together. Okay, so they're just not crossed over, they're separate from each other. And then the line drawn down the middle cracks the eggs open so you can see what's inside, the flower of life. It's very cool. And I'd also done another explanation of all the circles inside the squares, and I'll have to bring up that page again. That I did that technical drawing as well, showing these lines going from circle to circle, which is actually a quantum leap. So this is actually the time jumping in a simple way to look at it. So I'm just bringing this back in because the sacred square is relating to the eggs cracked open over here, you see, and then the time jumping abilities between toroidal fields when they come together from 0 point. And that's what she was talking about, being able to, you're not actually jumping to a different place, you know, you're going to a different dimension. So it's about multiple fields or multiple universes coming together at the same 0 point, even though they're in different fields, and then being able to time jump or quantum leap. Okay, so I call this is the 2 toroidal fields, the sacred square equaling the diamond, and the quantum leap. And again, the shutter eyes, this is the flower of life, which is actually these 2 energies coming together, or the shutters, the iris, also the Reiki energy around the 3rd eye. Those 2 come together to make the flower of life, and then represent the 2 human eyes as well, that you need to have the equal and opposite reaction, right, to make balance. You have the 2 eyes in different perspectives. And then again, the Celtic cross too, I wanted to bring up. Because it's very, the Irish knot comes up. Because if you put two donuts together, like pretend like the donut has a really big hole in the middle, and you put, or like a ring, like a ring that you put on your finger, and you put 2 rings together, the Irish knot that's the 2 toroidal fields. So if you put the 3rd toroidal field, making the 6 leafed or 6 petaled flower, then you get the Irish knot. Putting the 3 toroidal fields together becomes the Irish knot. So there's another significance to the Celtic cross and the Irish. So let me know what you think. I will show you too. And again, the 4-leaf clover was coming up, and the fan around the toroidal field. I hope there's nothing else I was missing. I guess if something comes up, I can bring it up later.